Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Rawhide RoundUp and our special edition, the countdown to CattleCon. I'm your host, Heather Dallas, and I have got another great guest to visit with today. He's going to be included in our CattleCon festivities when we get there in a couple of weeks. He is a singer and songwriter, currently living in Nashville, but there's a whole lot more to his story that I'm very excited to visit with him about and to introduce him to you all if you haven't heard of him, so you can learn more about him and his music and just a little bit about his involvement with us. So without further ado, let me welcome Scott Wolverton to the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. I am so thankful to be able to finally get you on here and visit with you about CattleCon. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And as soon as I started planning last year for CattleCon, I was like, we're going to figure out a way to get Scott Wolverton involved because we're going to Nashville. Like, we're going to be in Music City. You had just moved out here, I think, around the time last year when I was thinking. And initially I was thinking, okay, we're going to book a place to have you play live and have a social. But then I realized it's hard to visit with people with the live music. And I went out to that summit. We started chatting about, let's just bring you straight to the show floor. I mean, we're going to put you in our booth. We have, I think we're 30 by 50 booth with our Corral. And so it's working out great. I'm very excited that you were available and able to do this with us. Let's go ahead and let everybody learn a little bit more about Scott Wolverton and your music. So tell us a little bit about your background, because you're not just a country music singer. You grew up in this. So kind of give us a little bit of a background.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm from Seward, Nebraska, which is just outside of Lincoln. It's about 30 minutes west of Lincoln. And I grew up on a small acreage, small cattle farm. My dad's one of the veterinarians back home in Seward, and my mom works out of the 4-H extension office. She does a lot of after-school programs with kids, and then she also helps a lot with county fair things. So hiring judges for livestock shows, running open class, or not so much open class, but the 4-H classes and stuff like that, setting up the displays for baking and woodworking and horticulture, plant biology stuff. So she plays a very big part in the 4-H community as well. I grew up around the cattle thing. We would show, we have certified red Angus cattle. I have an older brother and a twin sister, and we grew up showing cattle, showing horses. My sister is primarily the horse rider. My brother is primarily the cattle guy, and I was kind of just thrown into the mix, doing a little bit of both. And it was a lot of fun. It was fun to ride around and go to these shows and go do these things. And I feel like I learned a lot about responsibility and work ethic just through working with animals and working with my dad and my siblings on the farm and doing just everyday things out there. I grew up in Seward, got into college and didn't really have a whole lot of interest in it at the time. I was really wanted to play baseball, and so got into college. I went to junior college in Hutchinson, Kansas, played 2 years there. Spent a year in Morehead State in Eastern Kentucky, and then I finished at University of Central Missouri outside of Kansas City. I graduated there with an agronomy degree, and I wanted to work on golf courses and do turf management things. I moved to Western Wyoming for about 4 months to work on a golf course, and when I was out there, I got a call from my previous junior college coach, and he asked if I had any interest in coaching baseball. And when he called me and asked, I was walking into a brewery with my buddy and looking at the Tetons, and I was just like, man, I don't know, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot. And he goes, all right, well, if you change your mind, let me know. And I was like, okay. And then 2 weeks went by, and I was really homesick, and I was like, I could be 3 hours from home, or I could stay here and be 13 hours from home. And so I took the latter, and I went back to Hutch and coached for 2 years. And throughout all this time, throughout college especially, I started getting an interest more into music. When I was growing up, I took guitar lessons when I was 10 and kind of took guitar lessons up until I was 14. And at that time, it was you kind of had to start deciding whether you wanted to do baseball or agriculture things, 4-H things, FFA, or if you wanted to do music, and you kind of had to choose and pick and choose. And I really wanted to do the athletic thing. I played football, wrestled, and played baseball. And with that, with church things, with 4-H and all this stuff, it really took up a lot of my time. So at that point, the music thing kind of got pushed back behind all these things. I was still playing guitar and learning songs on my own and just kind of singing for myself. And then getting to college, it was kind of like my release from the baseball stress and the school stress, just playing songs for myself and singing. Um, Getting home from the bars late with the buddies and somebody's got a guitar and they're like, Scott plays a song. And so doing that kind of thing. I finished playing ball in 2021. I still had another year of school to finish. And so throughout that year is when I really dove into writing my own songs and playing live. I picked up some bar gigs around Kansas City and around in Warrensburg where I went to school and started playing live. It was 3 to 4 hour sets, cover songs. It was a lot of fun. I kind of learned a lot about myself in the music space and got a lot better at playing, performing, working a crowd. And so that's what I did for that year. And then after that, I started, when I moved to Hutch to coach is when I started really recording music that I had written. And part of the deal at Hutch was as an assistant coach, you work as a supervisor in the dorms. And part of that was that they provide housing for you. And it was basically just like a studio apartment in the dorms. They just knocked out a wall between two dorms and called it a big studio space. So I was living in this dorm room basically. And that's where I recorded most of that early stuff that I put out was just in that dorm room. I recorded 1 or 2 songs or maybe some vocal stuff in the locker room at the baseball field because it was the quietest place I could find. But yeah, that's when I really started recording music and putting it out and trying to build a following on social media, on Instagram and TikTok. And those were 2 great avenues for me because, as you know, the scene in Hutch, Kansas is not very prominent for country
It's
music.
great for families. It's great for
No
families.
doubt. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love Hutch with all my heart. But where I needed to be for music was in a different space. And so I started getting some traction on TikTok and Instagram. Those were great ways to promote myself and reach a broader audience other than the central Kansas space. And while I was coaching, I was still playing gigs here and there. I would play at the brewery in Hutch. I played a show in Canton. I played in Salina a few times. I'll go back to Nebraska and play every once in a while. And throughout that process and doing those things, some people out here in Nashville got a hold of it, and I had a lot of people contacting me. I didn't really know what to do at the time because it was kind of like, I don't know these people. It's hard to put trust in somebody that you don't know. And I'd heard some horror stories of people working with people in the industry, and it's kind of like, man, I really don't want to get caught up in all this. But then my now manager, Zach Sutton, reached out and we had a lot of things in common. He's from Kansas City and he actually played at UCM for a little bit. We knew similar people. We had a lot in common and I just felt like I could trust that guy. And so he kind of convinced me to move out to Nashville. And so I moved here in the summer of 24 after 2 years of coaching. And then, yeah, since then I've been doing a lot of writing, meeting people in Nashville, recording songs, recording music, kind of finding my full sound. A lot of the early stuff I put out was just acoustic things. And so I've had some opportunities to do a lot of really cool stuff in that space. And then the live show thing has been awesome. I've had a lot of cool opportunities pop up for that too. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, we feel like you've been famous for a long time because we've known of you since you were here and we
Right.
listened to you in the car. And so like my 9-year-old was like, I've done this, a lot of people on the podcast, and she's like, when is your podcast with Scott? Like, when is this is the first famous person I've had on the podcast. But that's because we've just known your music. And so
Yep.
it's, everybody here knows how good you are. And it's just, you just, I'm sure, as you know, you get to that next level, you just got to branch out and get more people.
Hmm.
And so we've known that. I've known I wanted you to be involved. And then you came out with Cattleman's Call. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the song for my Rawhide community. I mean, I remember vividly driving down the road and I saw on my whatever the Apple Music is, and it was like, oh, new song from Scott Wolverton. So I clicked on it, and immediately I'm listening to this song, and I'm thinking of my grandpa, my dad, my uncles, our customers. But it was like you just can picture this rancher that's out calling his cows, and it starts off with an actual cattle call. And tell us a little bit about how you got that.
Yeah. So I always had this idea around that particular thing, the cattle call. Because my like growing up, my dad would always do this. He would call in the cows, and it's this big like, "Humbas, come on," kind of vocal thing. And it was always just like growing up as a kid, you listen to that and you're just like, that is so weird. Why is my dad doing that? But it was, and it's very common actually. And I thought that was so cool because as soon as he would call them, they would all the cows would perk up, all the cattle would perk up out there and like kind of look towards the barn, and then they just start walking, they just start moving towards him, and I thought that was really cool. And I had the idea of like when I was playing baseball and when I was bouncing around from job to job and coaching, and I did a lot of traveling through that. A lot of my life post high school has been on the road in some capacity, whether it was sports, whether it was music, whether it was for employment. And my dad and my family and my mom have always been they've been my rock. And so I had this idea of the cattle call with my dad, but my dad's always told us, he's always like, hey man, like if it doesn't work out, you can always come home. Like you can always fall back on us. And to me, that's just him reassuring me that he's always there for me, and his love is always there for me. He's always there to pick me up when I need it. And I tried to connect that feeling and that thought with the cattle call. And so that's kind of where that inspiration came for that whole song. And then the other things that I learned just growing up around him and seeing how hard he works with the animals and how hard my mom works with the horses and what it takes to do those things. And it's a lot of hard work, and sometimes you don't always get a great reward, but when you do, it's a really good feeling and it's really amazing. And so I knew when I was recording it what I wanted it to sound like, but I also knew that I really wanted to have my dad's call in the song. And so we were in the studio recording the song and kind of getting after it and doing the intro, and I had told my producer what I wanted, and he's like, that's a great idea, we got to do it. And so I called my dad, and well, I actually called my mom because my dad is not the technical human that needed to be done to do this. So I called my mom and I said, hey mom, I need you to go out to, when dad calls him in tonight for feed, I need you to go in and just start a voice memo and just record him doing it. And she said, okay. And so I was kind of nervous because I didn't know what kind of product I was going to get back from my parents. Older people and their cell phones don't always match together. but I got back a voice memo. I got back 2 voice memos, and it was perfect. The call was awesome. You could hear the cows mooing back at dad, and it was really cool. And we didn't touch it. We didn't add any reverb. We didn't edit the voice memo at all. We just stuck it at the beginning of the song and let it sit where it was.
Yeah, I just learned that when I started doing some more research, kind of getting ready for our podcast. I've heard the song and I've heard the call, and it just made it like goosebumps. I was like, oh, that's actually your dad. Like that's
Hmm.
him doing the call. And so for anyone who's listening to the podcast who hasn't heard it, I would say it's a great song to start with Scott's music library. I think I describe it as our cattleman's like anthem. I mean, it's really like everybody that works with cows. I mean, I feel like you can relate to that. The early mornings, you can just kind of picture it. And, in society, I think ranchers and cattlemen have so much respect out of certain people, but there's a part of it that doesn't have that, unfortunately. And so I think it's nice to have a song like that. And I tried thinking, and I'm like, nobody's put out a song like this that really just specifically relates to just this cattleman. I mean, a lot of country music, you have, different subjects, and so I think that was one of the reasons I'd already wanted you to be involved with CattleCon. And then you had this song, and I'm like, okay, time to start the process. We got to get, like, this is a must. Scott has to get on. And when I was visiting with some of the folks at NCBA, I didn't realize this. They actually have a podcast called The Cattleman's Call.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I told them, I'm like, hey, you need to talk to Scott in February when he's here. I'm like,
Yeah.
there needs to be some sort of connection between the two. Just because, it's just a special
Yeah,
song. So
absolutely.
we appreciate that. Now let's visit a little bit about your music. We will go into some of our favorites and your favorites, but I guess if you could describe your music or describe kind of inspirations behind your music, how would you describe it to someone?
Yeah, so a lot of my inspiration comes from home. It comes from where I grew up, what I grew up doing, that Midwest country life, I guess. It's very simple, but a lot of it has to do with work ethic, my faith, that kind of lifestyle. As far as like what I grew up listening to and inspirations of other artists, I grew up listening to a lot of like Toby Keith. Um, my mom really enjoyed Garth Brooks and kind of like the Dixie Chicks kind of stuff. But she also really liked Bob Seger and that kind of rock scene kind of sound. Fleetwood Mac, Alabama stuff. That 80s type, 70s 80s country. And then my dad had three CDs in his truck. And they were both like, or three albums, I should say, because all three of them it was three separate artists, and they were all the double CD, like 50 songs or whatever. And it was Queen, Elton John, and Johnny Cash. And Johnny Cash was his
Interesting.
favorite. Yeah, quite the dynamic there. Um, so there was that kind of influence too. And then my personal influences throughout my life, like things that I like. So Turnpike Troubadours, that Red Dirt kind of sound, the Randy Rogers Band, Casey Donahue, those Red Dirt Legends kind of thing, CCR stuff.
Oh, that's my favorites.
Yeah, yeah. But then I'm kind of a chameleon when it comes to my music taste. I really like there's a band called Mount Joy, and they're out of Pennsylvania. That's very indie pop rock that I love to listen to too. Like or that I like the Allman Brothers type sound where it's very um, jam band type stuff, the Grateful Dead type stuff. But I'll listen to anything. The only thing that I really have, I growing up, Eminem was really popular, and like um, who else? Dr. Dre and those kind of guys. But other than that, haven't really dove into the new age hip hop stuff or whatever.
It's
So
not the same. Um,
it's not quite the
we're from
same.
that old age too, so I show
Yeah.
it to my kids. That's funny. I actually was just driving my daughter to club volleyball this weekend, and she was saying how some of her friends different country music, and so I was playing Randy Rogers for her. I'm like,
Mm.
listen, like this is a good one. Show your friends this, and she's like, I'm not just going to show my friends. I'm like, bust out the old stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Right
it's the
on.
good stuff. Okay, so I can tell you, my family, we all have some favorites, but I am curious. So, your album wise, you had, Chasing a Simple Feeling was that first album of yours. And then now you've had some singles that have come out since you've been pretty much out there. Do you have a favorite of your songs?
I don't know. I try to love all my stuff equally. Kind of. I think a lot of that stems from the process that I went through to record those songs. And I would say either Home or Seasonal Depression are kind of the ones that I really am very proud of. Especially Seasonal Depression, I remember writing that and thinking, man, this is really good. I don't know if anybody will listen to this because it is a sad song. It's not
Yeah.
the happiest of songs. But in the time and space that I was in my life, it was just very accurate of what I was feeling. It's like I felt I was feeling like I was failing other people and I wanted to blame it on the weather being bad kind of thing.
It's gray outside.
Yeah, right. And so I just remember writing that. I remember I recorded that song in the locker room, in the coach's locker room area there.
Okay.
And I remember finishing that song and listening to it in my truck because when you listen to music, you kind of have to have a good spot, good speakers to listen to it when you're doing the process of mixing and mastering. And the only really good quality sound I could get was in my pickup. And so I was just sitting in my truck listening, and I kind of like gave myself chills a little bit. I'm like, wow, I'm really proud of this one. Because it was the first one that I did all on my own that really sounded like the writing was good, the sound was good, it was a good song, and so I was just really proud of what I created in that moment. And then the same thing kind of happened with Home. The one with Home was a little different. I'm pretty partial to that one. I wrote that when I was living in Wyoming and trying to decide whether to go back home or whether to stay there or whether to go coach. And there's just a very large emotional connection to that song more than anything. So,
Yeah. I would
yeah.
say listening to your songs, I feel like Chasing a Simple Feeling, those songs are like road trip. Like we're going on a road trip and I'm
Yeah.
putting on an album and like I could listen to it, probably go through two or three times and not like notice. You just sing with it the next time it comes on. It's kind of like more driving. Like you said, it's a little bit maybe more serious. Some of
Hmm.
them, not all of them. And then some of your newer singles are a little bit more, I don't want to use, my kids would make fun of me for saying jam, but like there's a little bit more like
Yeah.
maybe upbeat, like do-si do.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I asked my kids, of course, I was like, hey, before I go on, what's your favorite song? And they were all like do-si do. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody loves do-si do. I
Yeah.
love do-si do.
Yeah.
Um, do-si do and Cattleman's Call, all of your new ones, Running and Racing. But the original, so Seasonal Depression, I remember that being one of the first songs of listening to of yours, of course, when you're out here. But Ghost, everybody likes Ghost. I love Ghost.
Yeah.
And The Girl from North Country is, I love that one too. So,
Thanks. Yeah. Ghost, I always thought Ghost was, it never got all the love that it should have. I thought that one was going to be the number one song off
really,
that project, and it just never caught. Girl from the North Country, that's an old Bob Dylan song. So
oh,
I,
really? So I didn't
I
even know
didn't,
that.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't write that one. My dad kind of put me on that one. It was a Bob Dylan song within Bob Dylan did a version with it with Johnny Cash. And so I just always loved that song and again had that emotional connection with it with my parents, and it was kind of like, well, I can kind of sing it well, so I might as well cut it and throw it out there, trying to make
That's a good
something
one.
familiar for people. And yeah, yeah. So
You never know. The way music goes, I'm one of those people. I'll find an artist and then go back to their original albums and then you play it and then you realize they kind of pick back up. So you never know. Some of
hmm.
these may just, as you get going, all of a sudden their downloads
Right,
start going up, 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 and
right.
people figure it out. But Ghost and Dosey Do, like from our family, was like, yep, those are the two favorites. So,
Yeah. I remember finishing Dosey Do too and being like, man, that's a hit. Like that's number one
oh
right
yeah,
there. And then the interesting, like I said, the interesting about Ghost is it never got its time to shine. It was actually picked to be on a TV show recently, though. It was on
oh, I saw that
yeah,
tracker.
it was on the end, the last scene of Tracker, and that was
I
so
forgot
cool.
about
I
that.
thought that was so cool. So that was that was Ghost kind of having its moment finally. But
Oh my goodness. I'm
yeah,
glad you said that because I remember seeing on your social media story
yeah,
something about that. And my husband and I usually watch Tracker, and I hadn't watched that episode. And I don't know if I still have, but I remember telling Drew, like, hey, we got to go watch that. Scott song is on the end of it. Like, this is
yeah.
crazy.
I'd never
That's
even heard of the
awesome.
show. I never even heard of the show. Like I
Oh,
they somebody
we love it.
reached out and my manager hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I just got an offer to have Ghosts on a TV show." And I was like, "No way." And I told my parents and my mom was freaking out because she loves the show. And so I
Hmm.
was like, "Yeah, that's really cool." So,
It's
yeah,
one of
that
those
was
network shows that like you have to wait for it to come out on. It comes out on
yeah.
Sunday, and Drew and I would usually like try and watch it on Monday. And
Hmm.
he travels around with his Airstream, and so that's Drew and I's like dream. When our kids are grown, like we're getting an Airstream, and
Yeah.
we're hitting the country, and we love national parks. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, being at the Tetons, like that would be a hard place to leave. We love the
Hmm.
Tetons in
Hmm.
Wyoming, but maybe the winter isn't as nice as when we're there in the summertime. But
Right. I mean, the positive thing about the winter is if you're into the skiing or snowboarding scene,
sure.
you get a pass and you're going 4 to 5 times a week and doing that whole number. So,
Oh, sure.
yep, yep.
That's awesome. Well, I'm small world. I mean, my brother-in-law had a similar degree as you, and he worked out at the Old Baldy Club in Wyoming. And so when I first saw that that was in your background, I'm like, oh, it's a small world. So, um, I guess golf courses just wasn't in it for the country music singer for the long haul, huh?
Yeah, no, it was not. No, it was not. No,
Hey,
but
it's an experience. You can say you did it.
no
There you
doubt,
go.
no doubt. And that was 4 of the coolest months of my life working out there. It was amazing. It was surreal. You know, you got Yellowstone right there, Tetons. Did a lot of hiking, some biking, some you see things you don't normally see, and I thought that was really
Yeah.
cool. So,
We had great experiences at the Tetons. The first year we went, we camped in our camper in the national park campground, and we had just dropped our camper off, and we're driving to a trailhead, and we go by a grizzly bear, and it like stood up and like turned as we drove by, and we were just like, "Did that just happen?"
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we've been here 30 minutes, and that just happened. It was pretty lucky. I mean, we got really lucky for that. Um, but no, it's a great place. That's I'm glad you got to experience it for that. Um, so kind of a little bit about your music. My daughter, my 9-year-old, was like, "What songs is he playing at CattleCon?" You don't have to tell us now, but I'm like, we'll figure that out eventually. But I do want to visit a little bit about what people can expect at CattleCon. It's a big trade show floor. We have a 30 by 50 spot and have the Corral set up, and so we're just kind of putting you inside what would be the Corral. And I think it'll be pretty cool for folks to walk by and just kind of get a chance to hear your music and see a little bit about your background. And I hope that I hope you get to some more listeners just from that experience.
definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, those are I feel like the people that'll show up are the people that would like enjoy my music, especially
Yeah,
Cattleman's Call, Do-Si Do, that kind of stuff. But I'll definitely play Cattleman's Call. I'll play my own stuff. I might throw a few of my favorite covers in there. We'll see.
you
Or
do whatever you want to do.
I'll
It's
start
your
doing.
floor.
I'll get rowdy with the crowd and we'll see what happens.
It's one of those things where it's a little chaotic that first afternoon because most people walking around aren't shopping at that point. Like they're not going to
Right.
go and ask very specific Corel questions. And so I kind of envision if everything goes right, like we get a nice little crowd of people that can kind of come around and we can visit with them while they listen to you. And if you get enough people that want to talk to you, who knows, maybe we could have you take a break and visit with some of those people. And we're going to wing it just like we do everything. Just wing it. I don't know of anybody else that has somebody singing, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be an outlier. We'll make
For
it work.
sure, for sure. So, before we wrap up, I do think it's worth noting your baseball history here.
Yeah.
Part of, I think we've kind of alluded to it, and if people didn't catch it, but part of the reason I was able to know about you before now is because my husband's the football coach at Hutchinson Community College, and you were coaching here with our friend Brock Nels when we first learned about you. And I know Drew's probably met you. I was so busy. I don't even know that I ever hardly crossed paths with you in person when you were here, like we knew
Mhm.
of you. Um, and so, you know, being at Hutch as a player and then as a coach, that has to be kind of full circle to see both sides of being here. And you got to coach with Brock, which he's a one of a kind. We love Brock and his wife Ashley.
That we
So
do.
I'm glad you got to do that. So I guess I think it's neat that we kind of have that connection. That's how we got to know you. So tell us a little bit about coaching with Brock. He's a handful. He gave me some bullet points that I'm supposed to ask you, but I figured
Yeah.
I'd give you a chance if you had anything to say before I ask you the bullet points from Brock.
No, I loved coaching with Brock. He is very passionate about the game of baseball, and I have a big appreciation for that because I played. I always wanted to be competitive in baseball, and if you don't have the passion, you're not going to be very good. And I wanted to be a winner, and so did Brock. We saw things very similar. He treated me so well. He was very kind, and it was just really hard not to like him. He's amazing. Treated me so well. I have nothing but good things to say about him.
Good.
But
So when you were playing baseball, I guess I didn't even ask, what position did you play?
I was a catcher. Yep.
Oh,
My first semester at Hutch, I was a catcher slash outfielder slash third base, and they killed my outfield dreams really quick. And then I missed the ground ball at third base, and they're like, "Hey, Scott, we're just gonna have you catch." And I was like, "That's totally fine. I will be really, really good at that, and that's it." And so, yep, I was a catcher.
who was your coach when you played here?
Ryan Schmidt was
It
the
was
head
Schmidt.
coach.
Okay,
Yep,
I figured it
yep,
was Schmidt.
yeah.
Yeah, Drew and him ended up coaching their boys in summer baseball
That's
together,
right. Yeah,
and it's a
yeah,
small world there. His wife played basketball at Fort Hayes, like
hmm
I did, and so just
yeah,
kind of a small world with that family. So I didn't even think about that when we were talking about baseball.
hmm
He's a great guy.
Oh, I love Schmitty too. He's the man.
Yeah,
But
awesome. So Brock, here we go. The
yeah,
bullet
let's hear
points
it.
from Brock. I am supposed to ask you about rolling your ankle at the Region 6.
Yeah. So on that coaching staff, I was kind of the gym goer. I was the hardcore, still athlete type coach. I was the youngest one on the crew. By by probably 7 years, 6 or 7 years. I don't remember how old
I would
Wheeler
say.
was, but I was quite a bit younger, and um, I always like to poke fun at them for not being in the gym because I think that was my way of trying to macho man them, but worked out a lot, took really good care of my body. And then we were at Region 6 tournament, and I'm down on the rail just coaching and doing my job and doing my due diligence and doing what I usually do. And we finish a half inning, and I coach first base. And so we finish an inning on the field. I step back and clap my hands because we did something good. And I absolutely just missed the step in the dugout, roll my ankle on the next one, and I hit the ground really, really hard. And Coach McHugh saw it, and he came running over. And I remember being like face down on the floor with my hand, pushing myself up and looking up, and McHugh's in my face like, Scotty, you okay?" And I didn't know what happened. But I hit the ground really hard, and then I tried to play it off. I tried so hard, and I got up and I ran out to the first base box, which was not the smart thing to do.
Surprised you could do that.
I got back in the dugout after that half inning, and Sarah, our trainer, looked at my ankle, and it was swelling up the size of a. It got big. It swelled up really fast, and nothing was broken. I went to the doctor afterwards, and I was still coaching. I would always run out to the first base box, and I was not running. I was gimping out to the first base box, trying to hide it as much as possible. But yeah, that's that whole ordeal. I just missed a step, and I still have chronic swelling in my ankle now from that. So
That's intense.
I know I'll wear a compression sleeve and all that when I work out now. So, but
Gosh.
yeah, Nels just thinks it's funny because I was such a hardo in the weight room, and he's like, all that lifting, you're just gonna roll your ankle. It's like, okay, whatever. But yeah,
That probably wasn't the same Region 6 that Brock, was it the Regions? Was it the next year that he had to watch from?
no, that was the year he got
Is that
ejected.
the
That was
same one?
awesome. That was crazy. I remember walking out to the first base box, and Nels didn't quite hear what had happened. And nothing really had happened. We just got a warning. He didn't, and Brock thought that they threw our pitcher out. And he about had, it was a really intense game. It was really close, and it was late in the game, and we needed that guy on the bump, and Brock knew that, and he was upset, and he let it rip, and it was so cool. I thought it was sick. I just remember him. He took his helmet and he threw it down the third baseline all the way to the gate, and it was he didn't hold back. And then he had to watch the rest of the region from the right field fence outside of the park.
I know. Be passionate.
We're getting text alerts on our Apple Watches in between innings, and it was great.
Oh,
It
poor
was
Brock.
yeah.
I'm the same way though with Drew at his football games. Like when he's like getting into it on the refs, I'm like, yes, tell them,
Yeah.
like, get it, let's go. Like you can do it, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
he's passionate. Can't deny that.
No doubt. No doubt.
Okay, so I'll ask this because it might kind of tie in. I literally all I got was bullet points, so I have no idea what I'm asking
Okay.
you, what
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Second strongest coach.
Yeah. I he must have another story because I just remember it goes back to that weight room thing, and he always wanted to act like he was tougher than me. But you'll have to ask him if there's a story there I'm missing or something like that. But
There could be.
he
And
always liked to try to wrestle too, so that was that. But yeah,
actually wrestle.
like he would just try to like body me every once in a while. And I'm just like, dude, get off of me.
He's a big guy,
No, he's not small by any means, no. But
tall.
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, and who's a better pool player?
Coach Nels is a better pool player. We played pool a few times, and I don't think I ever won. He is a much better pool player than I
He
am.
must be feel pretty passionate about that for that to be one of the things
You know, I
he's
think
thinking.
he's just one of the most competitive people I've ever met. And so when you try to just have fun, if you were making a puzzle, he would say that he put more of the pieces together than you. That's how competitive. So,
I
yeah,
can see that. Well, I guess that's good for a coach.
no doubt. You got to have it. You got to
There
have
you
it.
go. And last one is Control Alt Delete.
Control Alt deleting them bears, baby. Yeah. We would have when I was playing it, that came from my UCM days, but there was always this joke of Control Alt Delete some bears, and that was just a little thing I like to
Inside.
say. Yep,
There
yep,
you go.
yep,
And so UCM, yeah, that you guys were in the MIAA,
yep,
right? Yeah,
yep, mm-hmm,
that's right. Small world.
yep,
Yeah, when we were in college, so we're a lot older than you, but at Fort Hays when we were there, it was our first years in the MIAA. So
mm,
we played in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference before
right,
that.
yeah,
So that was cool. Like we were always going to Denver and to the mountains and stuff.
mm-hmm,
And then we switched. I think that was my sophomore year. We switched, or junior year. We switched to the MIAA. So I didn't have a lot of experience playing those schools. I think I just did it one year. So
gotcha, yeah, yeah.
awesome. Okay. Well, is there anything else you can think of that I did not talk to you about today?
I don't think so. I'm just thankful you wanted to speak. Thankful for you guys having me play. So
Sure.
yeah,
No, I think
Yeah.
it's going to be exciting. I think it can benefit both of us. You know, we get a little bit of a cool aspect to our show, and we get to expose people to your music. And like I said, you're already famous to my 9-year-old. I mean, you've made it.
Perfect.
Um,
There, I've reached the
you can
pinnacle.
stop now. Yeah, there you go. Um, oh, I will say, so while we're in Nashville, I was going to ask you. They are doing like a Boots on Broadway thing on Thursday night, but I know
Okay.
there's a very tourist side of Nashville, and then there's like you live there, Nashville. But any place that you feel like we should go or people should go when they come out for this in the evenings, because we have a couple evenings that there's stuff that CattleCon puts on, like that Boots on Broadway Wednesday night. Like we usually go to that, but other than that, we're kind of on our own. So anything that you've learned while you're out there?
Man, I'm trying to think. There's not the now. I try to stay away from Broadway. I'm not a huge Broadway goer. I go every once in a while, and when I go, I usually go to Robert's Western World. Um, they play. It's a dollar bill bar, but they play the very traditional stuff. The Johnny Cash. They'll
Okay.
play some Allman Brothers stuff. Um, but I don't spend a whole lot of time down there. If I do, I spend it down in Midtown, which is it's where Riley Green's got his duck blind. Red Doors down there. There's some cool scenes down there. Um, there's the historic stuff. There's a lot of if you go south to Columbia, I know this is a little ways out of town, but there are some like Civil War monuments and stuff like that if you're into history. But yeah, Music Row if you want to see all the publishers and the labels and stuff like that. But really, anywhere you go in Nashville, there's something. It's an extremely happening place. There's always something going on. I mean, you have the Ryman is downtown too. There's the Opry on the northeast side. Um, there's a lot of things to see that are very historic. There's the museum, Hall of Fame, Country
Hall of
Music
Fame.
Hall of Fame, and things like that too. So, yeah,
Yeah. I think CattleCon has an event with the Opry, like on one of the nights that folks could pay for and go do.
gotcha.
We had to laugh. We went out for the summit, and so we would go out in the evenings, and there's a group of some of us exhibitors, and we would hit up some of the bars on Broadway. But the bachelorette parties,
Oh
so
yeah,
many bachelorette parties, and we were getting a count and just kind of being ornery about all the white boots, like white boots, girls in white boots everywhere. There's white
Mhm.
boots everywhere. So that was kind of entertaining for us,
Yeah.
to
White boot,
experience.
white boots and pink cowboy hats. Yeah,
Yep,
the bachelorettes love that stuff. Yeah,
I know. Some our crew, we're a lot of the exhibitors, so we all were kind of
yeah,
dressed Western with regular boots, and we were
yeah.
like, we don't really fit in here as much. I will say, the CattleCon last year was in San Antonio, so that wasn't an issue. But the first
Right,
CattleCon that
right.
I did was in Orlando, and we flew down there. And when we all went out to eat that night, and people hit like the restaurants in the area, there were like local young girls, and they were like, "The Cowboys are here! The Cowboys are here!"
Yeah,
They were like so excited because the Cowboys
right.
were here, and so I guess we're gonna blend in a little bit more here in
There you go.
Nashville.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Most definitely will.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. It was nice visiting with you and getting to touch base. Like I said, I feel like I've known of you for 2 years, but not known you. So this will work. I'm excited. This gives me more excitement to get things going in a couple of weeks. So we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Thanks for having me.